This is my attempt at kind of trying to hold a reasonable discussion about the Final Fantasy set and my thoughts on Universes Beyond as a whole. Every once in a while on this channel, I'll just have kind of an off-the-cuff Magic the Gathering video where I just talk about how the game is as a whole and the state of the game. I usually just like talking about deck building and Commander, but sometimes I like to talk about Magic the Gathering, the game. And today we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy, Universes Beyond, and really just my entire thought process about this. Now, the reason why I say this is going to be an attempt to talk about it is because in most cases, when I talk to my friends or family about it, I get pretty upset about this whole ordeal. But when I really sit down and think about this topic and how I want to approach it, I don't want to have just an overtly negative video out there bashing a card game or even bashing Final Fantasy when I know how many people actually really like this set. And not only do I know how many people like this set, I also know how much it's doing for the game of Magic the Gathering. And usually when I think about the gripes that I do have with this set, I can usually think of why they happened. Things that I get actively upset about have a good justification for why they are occurring. And so I really wanted to have a more balanced video that takes a bit more of a nuanced approach to this. I'm sure you've seen plenty of videos from plenty of other creators that have varying opinions about Final Fantasy and how they feel about it. But I want to kind of have a pro and con approach to this video because really the more I think about it, I'm pretty neutral about this topic. And if you're not neutral about this topic, please stick around to the end of the video and maybe I can actually bring you to more of a middle ground rather than you absolutely love it or you absolutely hate it. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to start off with the positives first. Now, the reason why I actually am okay with Final Fantasy and Universes Beyond and a lot of these sets coming in is because I know that my friends and my acquaintances love the set and will play their favorite cards in the game that they love, which is Magic. When this set was first announced and it was announced it was coming to standard and it was announced that it was a full playable set, I was pretty mad. But on the other hand, seeing my best friend absolutely light up of the fact that he gets to play with Final Fantasy characters in Magic the Gathering is something that you can't take away. I adamantly tell him all the time how much I hate this set and I don't care for these characters, but seeing him get excited about Chocobo, seeing him get excited about playing these decks and playing Ishtola and playing any of these cards actually makes me not so mad about it. Being able to see my friends and my acquaintances at my LGS get super excited about these new sets, whether they're in universe or out universe, kind of softens my heart a bit and makes it so I'm not actually super mad about these changes. At the end of the day, Magic is a card game all about having fun with your friends, especially for Commander players. So when you get to sit down and just play as your favorite character, Cloud Strife, who you grew up playing Final Fantasy with, and now you get to play it in Magic, I can understand the joy of that. And although I don't share it, eventually, even though I don't like Final Fantasy, I'm sure I will eventually like one of the universes that they decide to add to the game. I grew up watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, and there's an Avatar set coming out pretty soon. Now, I don't know if I would be a huge fan of it, but I'm trying to keep an open mind for when it does show its face. And now the next point I have of why I like it or am okay with it is the fact that more Universes Beyond means more players to the game. And more players to the game means that the game as a whole can grow and thrive for years to come. Let's face it, 90% or more of the Magic the Gathering player base are casual Commander players. They're people that maybe stop by their LGS once, maybe twice a week to play a couple of Commander games and go home. Long gone are the days of people showing up for Friday Night Magic, ripping open a draft, or playing Standard, or playing Modern, or playing Pioneer, or any of these formats, and instead, most of the time you'll see at LGS, it's Commander Night. When it is by far the most popular way to play Magic, Universes Beyond is a way to bring in even more players to an already casual and growing format. So whether you like it or not, it is best for the game of Magic the Gathering. And also, in a negative way, it's best for WotC's profit. So as a business, they're going to obviously print cards that bring in more players, no matter how well they fit into the Magic the Gathering universe. Now, I think that's a perfect segue into why I don't like this. These sets should be Commander only, period. There is no reason in Magic's premier format of Standard that we should be seeing non-Magic cards. Like I said in the very last point, this is going to bring in a ton of new Commander players. And so when the entire idea is to bring in a casual fan base for Commander, these cards should stay in that format. It shouldn't go to Modern, it shouldn't go to Vintage, it shouldn't go to those, unless of course you want to fall in like Lord of the Rings did, but in most cases it should not be allowed in Standard. Now, here is where I said, even when I think of points that make me mad, or things that I disagree with when it comes to running the game, I can think of some justifications. If these kind of sets bring people into Magic the Gathering and they play Commander, allowing these cards in Standard might bring them into Standard, which means that Standard will grow just as well as Commander has. When Standard has been kind of on the downfall recently, having Cloud Strife in Commander might actually make a lot of sense if you're trying to attract more players into the game. So as much as it pains me to see them in Commander, I can kind of see the justification as to why you would do such a thing. So again, I'm not a huge fan of seeing these cards in Standard. I'd rather they stay in Commander, but I can understand that it might bring in more players, so it might overall be better for the game. And my last point is, if I wanted to interact with these IPs, I would go interact with these IPs. If I wanted to watch The Lord of the Rings, I would go watch Lord of the Rings. If I wanted to play Final Fantasy, I would go play Final Fantasy. If I wanted to play the Assassin's Creed games, I would go play Assassin's Creed. But I'm not. I'm playing Magic the Gathering. There's a reason over all of these other games and IPs and things that exist in the world, I chose to play Magic, and it's because I've fallen in love with this IP. I've fallen in love with Magic's characters, Magic's lore, Magic's history, and the worlds and characters that come along with it. So like I said, if I wanted to go play these other IPs, I would just do so. If you're bringing in Avatar: The Last Airbender, I could just go watch Avatar, or wait until Nickelodeon themselves create some sort of IP that can play Avatar. Again, I either did or didn't interact with these IPs to begin with, and I think it should stay that way. However, once again, I can see a justification for the exact opposite. If you have interacted with these IPs in the past, and now you see that you can play these in a card game, why would you not come over? If I was an absolute fan of Cloud Strife or Tifa or any of these other Final Fantasy characters and I played Final Fantasy all throughout my childhood, I now see that I can play them in this magical card game. I've never seen this card game before. Oh, it's Magic the Gathering. I wonder what that is. And so again, it brings in these players. So like I said, even though I do not care for these IPs, even though I'd rather them not be in Standard, I can understand exactly why this is happening. And honestly, for the most part, it's all because of Wizards of the Coast or Hasbro or any of these big companies just trying to make an extra buck. And yes, we could get mad at corporations, but at the end of the day, that's what they're there for, is to make as much money as possible. Does it stink? Kinda. Is it unfortunate? Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's just people trying to do their job. And it's designers that are trying to make a good card game. And it's artists that are trying to share their talents with the world. So as much as it pains me to see Final Fantasy in Standard, as much as it pains me to even see Final Fantasy characters in Magic the Gathering in the first place, it is here to stay. It's part of the game, and if I'm going to keep playing, I gotta get used to it. And the same goes for each and every one of you. So to recap, even though I do not personally like this, and I probably will not participate in the Final Fantasy sets, there might be a few cards here and there that I purchase, but for the most part, that's only because they might be really good cards and have high card quality. Besides that, I usually try to avoid Universes Beyond cards in the first place. But at the same time, seeing the joy that it brings my friends and my colleagues and acquaintances all across the state and country, I can only be so mad to a certain extent. Now, you might be thinking in this video, man, you were way too positive about Final Fantasy. Or you might be thinking, man, you are way too negative about Final Fantasy and Universes Beyond. And that's kind of the goal. The goal is to present both sides and show you that most people are actually pretty nuanced about this. Some of these creators, not really to their fault, are very extreme on either side. And they're going to try to maybe persuade you in either direction, whether it's extremely bad for the game and it's dying, or it's really good for the game and we all should just ignore any of the problems. Either way, this video was meant to be that middle ground. Meant to be the thing we're kind of all thinking. I'm pretty sure most of y'all have plenty of friends, or maybe you really like that you get to play with Final Fantasy characters and are extremely excited for Spider-Man and are really excited for Avatar. And I'm sure there are some of you that absolutely dread every single Universes Beyond card that shows up in the game. So the Magic player base is pretty divided. And in this video, I tried to give reasonable arguments to both sides. So with that being said, I have been Deck Driver. You can find my Mox field in the description, and I'll see you guys all next time. Thank you for watching.